Welcome back again, folks. This is our third video in Soundtrap 101 series. We're going to dig into the patterns Beatmaker today and also explain how rhythm works inside of Soundtrap. Most of this video is going to be focused on beat making and all the different features of Soundtrap that can be used for some pretty fun, easy beat making. And that begins with the patterns Beatmaker. Well, I already have a track in here. I have a track in here already. I'm just going to add another one so you can see how. Patterns Beatmaker, and boom, look at that. First thing we see is a bunch of blocks. And before I really get into why we have blocks, just notice at the top of this window, there's three different options we've got. We've got instrument, which allows us to actually play the kit that we selected with our keyboard, our computer keyboard, which is pretty nice. So got a snare, got a kick. All right. And we also have piano roll, which allows us to add in our drums as MIDI notes. And we got patterns. Since a lot of you may be new to making music, I'm going to break down why the blocks are broken up in the way they are on the screen, right? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, one section and a break, another 4, a break, repeat, repeat, and then a big break here before a number 2. Up above the leftmost block, we have this number 1. That number means our first measure. It is the very beginning of our project, the starting point. In time, it would be 0 seconds. In music terms, it's bar 1, number 1. Now, if you look over to the right of our group of blocks here, we have number 2. That is the second measure, the second bar. So now that means one measure gets broken up into 16 even blocks. Each block has the same length, right? Now, if I were to fill in all the blocks here, the hi-hat, you can click and drag, or you can click individually, right? Turn them on or off. They're filled with a light purple. That means they are active. They're going to play the note where you've clicked. They're the dark purple. That means they're turned off. So I've got all 16 filled up. I have 16 notes per measure. We could say the measure is broken up into 16ths, 16th notes. If I were to erase every other note, now we're broken up into eighth notes. I could do it again, right? Our measure is broken up into 4 into quarters. Got quarter notes, and I can keep going like this, right? Then I'll eventually have 2 notes for the measure, half notes. It's broken the measure in half, and then 1 note at the very beginning. It's the whole measure, a whole note. Now, the importance of us having them in 4 separate groups, right? Like slightly broken up groups, is that we have now 4 beats. We have 4 blocks per beat and 4 beats per measure. This is also called simple 4/4 time signature. Now, a time signature will show 2 different numbers. We have a top number and a bottom number. The top number will tell us the value of 1 beat, which in our example we know is 1/4 note or a quarter of the measure. The bottom number tells us how many of those beats are in a bar or a measure, which in our case we know is 4, since 4 quarter notes makes up 1 whole note, which lasts 1 whole measure. Now, these 16 blocks or 16th notes that our pattern grid is broken into are called subdivisions, because they are 1 measure divided into 16 equal parts. I know you probably didn't expect a whole math lesson in your music tutorial, but hey, music is math, kind of got to deal with it. So diving back in, I'm just going to start by adding 1 note per 4 blocks, right? Every beat, 1/4 note on the kick. This is classic house music stuff. Always got to have kicks on those beats. And then I'm going to add a snare on the second and fourth beat. This is also called the upbeat. So then I'm also going to put a hi-hat 1/8 note after every beat. This is also called the and. If we counted, we would go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and having those hi-hats on the ands, the 8th note after the beat, is a pretty classic house music move. You see what that sounds like. Pretty machine-y, right? Sounds pretty much like a computer made it. Not very interesting yet, but we can always add more later. But this is enough to get us started. And just like I did in our other videos, I'm going to take this loop. Let's take it out. 16. Now, what's really cool about looping this stuff, our beats, is that if I make a small change here, let's say I wanted to put a hi-hat now, strong beats, repeats it across our whole loop. Is really helpful. So I'm just gonna back it up here. And I don't like the sound of that, so take off those downbeat hi-hats. There you go. Now I encourage you, mess around, place notes in places you would not expect them to go. You gotta mess around to really get the hang of making beats like this, making house music beats, making stuff for pop music, making hip hop beats, right? Doesn't matter what it is. Just mess around. Also listen to music that you enjoy and start to pick apart the beats, right? Now that you know how a lot of pop music is, or music that you listen to is broken up, you can start picking out the stuff that you like, hearing the types of rhythms your favorite artists are making, and try to replicate it. You'll learn a lot trying to replicate what your favorite artist creates. Last few things before we finish our video, right? Of course, if we don't want to use just this drum sound, we can click right here to run drums and find new stuff. Now I like using drum machines. We're making house music after all. So I want something that's going to work with that. That's what I'm after. Just double clicked on that. Go back to the start. Let's hear how that sounds with the new drum kit. Now that's way better. I'm liking that. So let's go ahead and save that for now. We've got our drum beat. We're well on our way. The next video, we are going to cover using the synthesizer, how we can start adding in our own sounds to our song here. I think next time I'd really like to make a bass line, help add some funkiness to this funky house beat. Stay tuned. See you guys next time.